Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis Tenitra. Coming up on today's show. You know what? The Atlanta Braves are the only team in this town keeping me sane right now.
And you know, it's good to play 15 good minutes of basketball, but when the other team plays 48 minutes of great ball, well, bless your heart.
And last but not least, and for the culture, Damar Hamlin has been cleared to get back at it. We'll talk about all that next, right here on ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start off by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate that from you in advance. It's ATL Day Ones, your team every day. Today's episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. But T, when you think about the Atlanta Braves and what they've been doing, you know what? First off, I got to start off by giving you a quick kudos. You know, we got to give each other flowers, you know, on a daily basis around here because, you know, all this stuff going on, crazy stuff going on in the world. We got to make sure we show people love on this particular show. I have to give you your props because you mentioned that Spencer Strider, sometimes he'll give you a shaky start, but he will bounce back. And bounce back he did last night, T, to the tune of 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, and only 1 hit given up by a little twinkle little toes by Juan Soto. You know, and when you think about that and how he was able to bounce back and basically just get back on the mound and just make really good hitters look like average guys, T, I mean, what more can you even say about this team at this point on an 8-game winning streak?
I got to also give love to Bally Sports South. Their announcers on the 9th strikeout, they literally said, 9th strikeout from number 99, 99 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Jarvis, that just encompassed everything that Spencer Strider was last night. I said on the radio station earlier today on 92.9 that lights out to me. That's not even good enough to describe what we saw. I mean, this guy took a no-hitter into the 6th inning, and Brian Snitker said post-game that he felt like he could have gone for a complete game if it had come to him being in the vicinity of a no-hitter beyond that 6th inning. So, yeah, just amazing to see. And then what also is amazing to me, a couple different things, but we can go all over the place with it, but I'm going to try to keep tight because I know you want to. You're excited as well as I am to think that Spencer Strider, in just his first full season with the Braves, has approached something that John Smoltz did. You tied him for 9 straight games of 9 strikeouts, and the majors record is 11.
Crazy.
This guy is only in his first full season.
4-2,
as
by the
a
way.
Brave. Exactly. This is so important because this goes back to, however, we were having the same conversation yesterday, weren't we, Jarvis, about Max Fried?
Yep.
And we hope to have this conversation about Charlie Morton. But if we don't, we have had this conversation about Bryce Elder within the last week because the Braves are okay. And I'm coming up the rear, bringing it all the way full circle. Do you know Mike Soroka had a night last night?
Went off like...
This is unbelievable, and you and I have yet to really deep dive, and we will. We might actually do it if you guys come back tomorrow, especially our everydayers, but Jarvis, we haven't really even deep dived into the bullpen. This is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable how deep this team is, right? Because, you know, we got into a little shakiness, like, you know, Spencer Strider getting off to a slow start, you know, last against Cincinnati. And, you know, Rick Kranitz had to even come out to the mound and say, hey, man, snap out of it. Stop overthinking it and just go pitch. And, you know, Spencer Strider talking about how he needed those type of things just with the managers and the general manager and Alex Anthopoulos and Brian Snitker just being in tune with this team and understanding these guys. and they're making the right moves, playing chess out there, not checkers, when it comes to who to put out there, who should go down to AAA, who should come up, who needs a little bit more time in AAA and need a couple rehab starts. All of those things kind of come into play to you when you talk about this team being on the 8-game winning streak, and they just look like world beaters. Like I think people need to understand like what went down these past 2 games. The San Diego Padres have spent a buku amount of money to get guys in here who can hit the baseball. And like I said, Spencer Strider made those guys look like they were lost out there. They had the way he struck out Juan Soto T. I was just like, that dude looked like he had no clue what was coming. It was just like he was expecting something else, and then he came with the off-speed pitch, and I was just like, this dude is absolutely dealing. Now, I love Max Fried. I love his attitude, how he approaches the mound and everything. But Spencer Strider is must-see TVT when you think about him coming in there with basically 2 pitches and saying, you know what? You know what's coming, and I want you to hit it. And he hit that 99 miles per hour on a gun tee in the 5th inning. Like, how does your velocity go up as the game goes along? So, it's just so amazing. Then Snicker confirming that, just saying, hey, if he would have gone a little bit further with the no-hitter, we knew he had enough gas to be able to go further into however long that no-hitter would have lasted. So, yeah, I think that the Braves right now, they're in a space where good luck when it comes to, or whether or not you're going to get a dub when you start seeing those guys coming to town.
Yeah. And Sean Murphy goes back to what you said about rehab assignments. Travis d'Arnaud having a history of concussions. He has cleared the technical concussion protocol time frame for Major League Baseball, the 7 days. But the Braves are being cautious because of that history. But more importantly, Jarvis, they can be cautious because Sean Murphy is doing it at the plate and behind the plate. So, again, we're the embarrassment of riches. Same thing for Michael Harris II. We haven't quite seen him get into a space where he's at BP and we're seeing like, okay, he's ready to come back. So why rush him? Sam Hilliard is doing a fine job in center field. The reason we mention these things is because it is important to know. And Sam Hilliard is somebody that they've placed all over the outfield pretty much to see where he could deliver, and he has been solid. So that's the exciting part as you look at this run, because we're seeing it from different ways. And we even talked about the fact that, wow, the Braves could actually pull it off 2-0. And last night's game looked like they were going to do it again, right? So you get a 2-run home run from Sean Murphy in the 4th inning, and you're thinking, oh, okay, we're good, because Spencer Strider's doing his thing through the 6th, and it's looking like another 2-0 win. Think again. Ozzie Albies has something to say about that in the 8th inning. And Matt Olson said, oh, no, Ozzie, that's not enough insurance. I'm just going to give you 3 more.
Pop this off real quick.
Real, exactly. It's so very exciting. So, now all we need to do is get Uncle Charlie Morton to get back to being Unc.
Come on.
And we're good because Kyle Wright is doing his thing. And this also takes some pressure off of your rookies. This takes some pressure off of Jared Schuster and Dylan Dodd as far as that pitching staff goes. So just exciting to see that the Braves really have all of these weapons that are functioning at a high level so early in the season.
Yeah, it is amazing to watch. And like I said, they are the only ones in this town keeping me sane. So you know what? We will definitely have to get into why they have to keep me sane a little bit later on in the show. We know who we're talking about, the team that plays with that orange ball. But first, we got to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. Desmond Ridder out there at Flowery Branch. I got a chance to get out there and kind of talk with him and rap with him a little bit. But I think that it's safe to say that when we talk about, there are 2 types of coverage when it comes to this team, right? The national coverage and the local coverage. And I kind of lean towards the local coverage having a little bit more in depth as far as the context of this team, right? What's going on, what the day-to-day, what the team is thinking and everything. Because, hey, we're here every day, each and every day. But I think that Desmond Ridder was asked about the national media saying basically the Falcons don't have a quarterback when it comes to Lamar Jackson and maybe C.J. Stroud, or should they trade up and all of this stuff, right? And he was asked about it, and I thought his answer was pretty interesting. He was like, hey, I have a TV, so I watch it, but he said at the end of the day, yeah, it does give me a little chip on my shoulder. What do you think about the time frame in which you felt like you knew that Desmond Ridder would be the starter for this team? Was it early on, or did you kind of figure out that he was going to be the guy as Desmond Ridder found out.
Yeah, I've always felt like he could be the guy. I never bought into the Falcons need to draft a quarterback this season because I always said worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out this season, when we see Desmond Ridder for maybe 17 games, then you always have next season. Like Caleb Williams does exist. Yeah, there are quarterbacks coming up the rear, if you will. Cade May does exist. So I never felt like the Falcons were in jeopardy, as maybe some of the national media pundits said, and oh my God, they don't have a quarterback. Yes, they do. Yeah, they have a quarterback. They have a guy who showed us progression in 4 games. Enough for Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot to be confident to say, hey, you're QB1. And I feel confident in that as well, because when you talk to former coaches, former teammates, current teammates, everyone says the same thing. Chip on his shoulder, Des Ridder, is a scary, scary QB1. So I said to myself, you know what? Chip on the shoulder, Des, is good for Desmond Ridder, but you know who is really good for? The Falcons. Because that, to me, sounds a little bit like you got some dog in you. So you might be nice, and you might not be the most vocal person being like a rah-rah guy, but that's okay. As long as you got some dog in you when you get under center next season for 17 games, especially looking at what the rest of the NFC South looks like, I think the Falcons are in very, very good position. And Jarvis, not just because they still have Grady Jarrett, not because they went out and got Calais Campbell and David Onyemata, Jesse Bates, etc. I'm also saying that they are good because they got a guy under center.
Absolutely, and I think that when you have this regime, Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith, and Arthur Blank as well, understanding what they have and understanding what they evaluated last year and not wavering. Because here's the thing. If they're wrong, I'm okay with that. Because at the end of the day, when you do your homework and you do the research and this is who you feel like is going to be the guy, you go with that. And you don't bow out of that after 1 year. No. I don't like that. That's shakiness. That's Arizona Cardinal type stuff. Like, you don't want to be in a conversation with the Cleveland Browns. Like, they were connected with a story with the Cleveland Browns, the worst organization in the history of football in the last 30 years. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in those conversations. So I think that in order to separate yourself from that, you have to say, go with that guy and trust your evaluation on him.
Yes, and I just want to say one thing before we wrap up. Yes, Jarvis and I know that C.J. Stroud is in Flowery Branch today on a visit. Along with Jalen Carter. So you guys definitely know we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And Jarvis, like he said, had the opportunity to be out at Flowery Branch yesterday, and tomorrow we're going to deep dive into that as well, because he's got some excellent nuggets from some conversation that he had. But the one thing I wanted to share as well, going back to CJ Stroud being there, you still have to do your due diligence. So Jarvis and I aren't saying don't do your due diligence and at least take a look at a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young, because you don't know how the board is going to turn out. So if the board turns out that type of generational quarterback drops to you, okay, we understand. You got to do your due diligence in that regard. But again, it's not about, we don't think we got a guy. We got a guy. It's just that sometimes if you have a guy and then you maybe have a little bit of a generational guy that falls to your lap, you at least want to have had the opportunity to have some conversation with him in addition to the film that you may have seen, so that you are ready on next Thursday.
Absolutely. Now we're going to talk about insanity next. But first, we got to talk about FanDuel, because we want to get you guys, before we get into that foolishness that we saw last night, we got to talk about FanDuel and try to get you some money, because it is the #1 sports book in America. You guys are the number one, we are the #1 podcast to you guys in your hearts. And you rock with us each and every day. So how about this? Go to the #1 sports book in America that's going to win you some money. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. We know the baseball season is going on. It's making me happy. It's making T happy. So, go in there and check out the official sports book for Major League Baseball. You can go and check out the money lines, the over-unders. They got all of those things right there waiting just for you. And for all the new customers, they have the no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So you've been losing the money with the Hawks, trying to bet on them for some strange reason. How about this? Go win you some money and bet on these Braves, because I am 100% all in on this team. So what we're going to do, Go check out the No Sweat First Bet up to $1,000 and bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com today and check out the official sports betting partner of the major leagues.
Yeah, the Braves are your better bet, even down to Ronald Acuna, who was over, Austin Riley, who was over. Don't think that's going to happen again today. It happened last night, and the Braves still did their thing. Now, you want to talk about offers. Jarvis, it felt like offers from Trae Young last night. Yeah, he hit 2. He hit 2, but 2 feels like 0 to me. It was unbelievable because, like we said at the beginning of the show, there were really good moments, especially in that first quarter for the most part, right? So you felt like, oh, wow, all of what Quinn Snyder has been tinkering with since game 1 on Saturday showed up in those first 15 minutes. However, or 12 minutes or 18, depending on how liberal you want to be. Mm-hmm. However, the Celtics literally said, okay, we've seen everything in the toolkit. Now, it's time for Big Bro to show you, but our toolkit is bigger. So they go on a 20-4 run, and yeah, the Hawks got it down to 8 at some point in the third quarter, thanks to the one and only Dejounte Murray. He was like a one-man wrecking crew in that third quarter, but ultimately speaking, the Celtics never really had this game out of hand. Why, Jarvis? Because, and yeah, I'm going to go on just a slight rant before I give it over to Jarvis. 119 to 106 may not seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal when you look at the fact that 5 times these teams have played, 5 times the margin of victory for the Celtics has been an average of 13.2 points. So 13 last night, 13 Saturday, and 13 the last 3 times. That to me is a challenge, Jarvis, but let's be real about it. Just talking about game 2. How did the Hawks get there?
Oh, wow. Where do I start? I'm going to go start with Trae Young. And when you think, like, we talking about flows of the game, right, before, Tenitra and I have some very interesting conversations. One of these days, we're going to put it out there. I don't know how Tenitra feels about that, but, we're going to put it out there one of these days to let y'all in on what we talk about off air. But, you talk about flows of the game, and I'll use the Celtics for example because they're a great example. Like, when you talk about, like, they're hitting shots, they're moving the ball, they're playing good defense, and you see the momentum, right? And then that starts to wane a little bit, for like a couple minutes or so. And then next thing you know, they hit a couple threes, they're right back in it, and they're right back into the flow of the game and doing exactly what you expect them to do. We never seen that from the Hawks. Like, because it'll be one time, like you start off, like using the first quarter, for example, they got off to a great start. And then it seems like once they got to 22 points, it was just like they lost their brains. Like they didn't understand like how to play basketball anymore. Start turning the ball over. And you start to see John Collins just doing crazy stuff. And just like, like if I remember every shot that you made in the first half, that's not a good thing, sir. Like, so when you have the combination of those 2 guys who you drafted, guys who you feel like are going to be staples in your organization under the previous regime, because we understand there are going to be some changes this summer, but those 2 guys who've been paid accordingly, they just didn't show up. And Dejounte Murray can't be the guy to try to do it on his own, T.
What a great point you make about doing it on your own. And we take nothing away from the fact that there's always that rando, although I can't call Derek White a rando because I wanted the Hawks to go after him last season.
He went on rando last night.
So let me be clear. I don't really think of Derek White as a rando because I was sad when the Hawks did not grab him. When the Hawks didn't acquire him last season, I was like, darn it. I really thought Derek White would have made a huge
made a lot of
here.
sense.
And so that was of course before the Dejounte Murray trade. I was all in on Derek White. So he showed up for Boston last night from their bench, and of course it was just an off night for the bench for the Hawks. It happens. We're not going to leave it at the feet of anyone from the bench mob because your starters are where we're going to leave this thing. The reason being, going back to the Dejounte Murray trade, and you just mentioned it, we were thinking, okay, there's a guy. Yeah, the Hawks might need one more guy in order to get to the Eastern Conference Finals or even to get to the NBA Finals, but with this guy, at a minimum, if every other starter plays like he's supposed to play, they should be able to get into the second round of the playoffs and at least compete to get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
Why in the world are we still having a conversation about a team that got out of the play-in, but at the rate they're going in the opening round may not even get past 4 games? And I'm not trying to be negative, pessimistic, or dark in my thought process.
Keeping it funky, that's all.
I'm simply saying that one guy can't be the game changer. DJ can't be the game changer if the other 4 around him aren't 3. If the other 3 around him aren't giving it to him, because I'm not going to lay this at Clint Capella's feet. Clint Capella's been solid. Where I'm going to lay this is at Trae's, JC's, and DeAndre's. It got to the point where we do a pre-brief, right? Mm-hmm. Pre-show, we didn't even bring up Dre. That's how invisible
he was awful, T. Like, in like basic stuff, dribbling the basketball. Like, how do you... Like how this dude dribbling the basketball, it looks like he just learned how to do it. And he's falling back into, just learning how to play basketball and learn how to dribble, T. And I'm just like, dude, what is going on with this cat? Like, it's too many guys on this roster, T, that when you see them play, go through a quarter or go through 2 quarters or even a whole game, it's too many guys where I sit up there and watch and say, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
It's too many guys on this roster that my response, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, like, what are you doing? Even Trae Young, T. Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. We say that more about veterans because after your 3rd year, I'm calling you a veteran.
Absolutely.
We say that more about the veteran starters than we do about the rookie, AJ Griffin. Like, we haven't had this conversation a lot about him, although I know he's not a part of the rotation right now for Quinn Snyder, but ultimately speaking, we shouldn't be having this conversation. You and I shouldn't be saying, wait a minute, John Collins didn't score again after the 3rd minute in the game. Should not be a part of our conversation. Wait a minute, Trae Young has shot 3 for 18 from 3 across 2 games. That should not be a part of our conversation. Also, you taking 22 shots and only getting 24 points out of it. That shouldn't be a part of our conversation.
Yeah.
I can't even put words into it other than to say, at this point, you almost don't have a choice but to kind of look at the offseason because it's clear to see.
That's where we are right now.
It's clear to see that you might be more than just one more player away from even getting to the second round with what you're showing these first couple of games. Now, what it might look like when they come back to State Farm Arena Friday, okay, fine. Jarvis and I will look at that. But Jarvis, the mental lapses that we saw last night, things like taking 6-7 seconds off the 24-second clock just to bring the ball up, and then you're driving the lane against somebody who is about to pick your pockets because they're about a foot taller than you. These are just things that we've seen that it's like, Jarvis, how many times are we going to see this team revert back to some of those bad habits?
This team is mentally weak. Can I just go ahead and say that? I think I've said it before on this show, but I want to go ahead and press that point a little bit because here's the thing. When you have guys always talking about, we weren't mentally prepared or we weren't mentally there and all you're doing is admitting that you're mentally weak as a team and as an individual. Yes, John, I'm talking about you. Because when you think about, guys continue to point out certain things about what's going on, and I give Trae a little credit after the game last night. He said, hey, I got to play better. I'm going to play better. I get that. And putting yourself out on the line, those are leadership skills, people. Yeah, you got to at least respect that to a certain degree. So when you have all of these things going on and have all of these guys going to the mental jabbing that they're going throughout these games, and you don't know what's going on in these guys' heads, it's too many though. It's too many guys going through that, right? And it's showing on the court night in and night out. And these last 2 games that the Hawks have played have just been awful. It's just what it is.
It really has. And like you said, this is one of those things where at the end of the day, what we want to see is just a little bit more of the flashes that you give. 13 points, especially in the league, it's not a whole heck of a lot. Let's face it. I mean, you can hit 2 or 3 threes and you're right back in this thing. That's how they, in part, got it down to 8 points. The challenge with that is, and something else you said as well, the challenge with that is when you have mental lapses, let me back up. When the Celtics have mental lapses that in real time, not basketball time, might be 2 to 3 minutes, and then when they reset, they go hard.
Yeah.
You can't.
They go reset right back to where they were.
And it's an immediate reset.
Yes.
Doesn't take a timeout. They reset themselves at this point. You can't then afford to have 6 or 7 minutes of real time trying to reset, and then Quinn Snyder has to reset you. Like, that can't keep happening. Not if the intent
too many veterans
is
on this team to have to do that.
Just too many veterans on this team. So like we said, hopefully somehow, some way, you got 3 days to kind of reset yourselves before you come back home and make this a bit of a series. And we are still hoping that that's going to happen. But boy, oh boy, what we saw last night, which was still what we saw on Saturday too. Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
It's a long road to Friday. But hey, everydayers, you guys rock with us, and we know on some level you got to keep rocking with the Hawks. And we don't blame you. We don't blame you because they're not counted out until they're counted out, right? Just like you guys don't count us out because you're always all in with ATL Day One. So we appreciate you guys always stopping by this set first and foremost. You watch us on YouTube, and even when we are on some can't get right, like you all told us we were on one aspect of our show yesterday, you know what? We still love on you guys because, hey, at least you take the time to comment, and that means you actually care. So we appreciate that. Appreciate you guys downloading us as well, wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues so they can become everydayers too.
Yes, go ahead and join the family. We would really appreciate you. I have a red Solo cup waiting just for you. But this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about. Because that's just how we get down, whether it be red Solo cups or, talking about, Damar Hamlin. Guess what? He has been fully cleared to play football, to resume playing football, and he said that he is excited about getting back on the field. Like, when you think about what happened, for those you don't know, you've been hiding under a rock maybe, he got into an incident on the field where he was laid out against the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'll never forget sitting there on that couch, on that, I think, a Thursday night football game, and I was just like, oh my God, this dude hasn't moved for like 10 to 20 minutes, and come to find out he did, did not have a heartbeat, and they were able to revive him and get him back to life, essentially. So I think that when you think about coming from that to now getting back at it, resuming football activities, like, what does that say to you?
That is unbelievable. Like, it's just nothing short of a miracle. And my mind went to, although different situation, a little bit of a different situation because of the hit that Vontaze Burfict put on Ryan Shazier. But we were just excited when he was able to walk again, because we just didn't know as Steeler Nation, will he even walk again? Will he be able to talk again? Like, how much functionality will he have? And, he has, for the most part, resumed a normal life, but it'll never be resumed on the football field again.
Yeah.
Damar Hamlin can actually play a game he loves. And all I could think of was, wow, the love of his life, so to speak, was almost like taken away from him in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And just in the blink of an eye, it came right back. And when I say blink of an eye, just meaning, hey, we're only talking about a few months here. This could have been a years-long recovery. So I'm just excited for him and the opportunity that he has, and just the ability to kind of also shine a light as well on the importance of, hey, send positive thoughts, send positive prayers. These things matter. Having people rally around you matters. And also, I think it just continues to give the league an opportunity to say, hey, we need to continue to focus on the safety and the well-being of our players, because, hey, this is still a violent sport at the end of the day.
And that's where my thoughts kind of like, I don't want to say if they turned a little bit, but my thing when I first heard, that he was decided that he had been cleared and he wants to, resume playing, it was kind of like, all right, I understand. I get it. From a former athlete perspective, you want to get back out there. You want to get back to some normalcy. But for me, I really feel like the story should hold off a little bit. You know what I'm saying? As far as him getting right back at it, right? Because as if this is normal. This is not normal. The dude died on the field. And I think that the reason why I wanted to hold off a little bit is because of what you just mentioned. the NFL taking more safety measures and not this surface stuff. Like I'm talking about life medical coverage. You know what I'm saying? Like regardless of how long you played in the league, if you played a down in the NFL, you got a medical coverage for life. That's real solid, concrete caring for people. You know what I mean? You backing up with your money because, you know, a lot of times like people can say they care about you or can say they'll look out for you, but until they come out of their pocket when you're down and out, like it's hard for me. I know for me, it's hard for me to believe it. So I think that if Damar can just hold off a little bit, just not from just coming back, but just from a standpoint of getting right back at it, because that's what the NFL wants. They want to get right back at it, and
so we can just put the
so we can go,
away
yeah. And I don't want that to happen. I want the NFL to pay, and not necessarily from a ransom, but just hey, man, like back it up with your money. You say you try to change rules, you try to doggone say you want to do certain things, but back it up with your money and say, you know what? If you play it down in the NFL, you got medical coverage for life. That's the real. That's the real right there. That's how you show you care. God dog it.
Indeed.
Sorry. Sorry about that, y'all. We want to just say thank you. We'll end it right there. And we want to just say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available on YouTube and wherever you download your podcast. So make sure you check us out there. Really appreciate that from you in advance. For all the people who are rocking with us every day, the everydayers, we appreciate you as well. Go ahead and join the family. Go ahead and get a part of this thing, man. We got some good things going on right here on ATL Day Ones. And last but not least, before we get out of here, I want to make sure that you guys share love, show love, and most importantly, make sure you spread love.